This story is titled, My Wife Filed for Divorce and Left Me for a Richer Man Because a Fortune Teller Said We Weren't Compatible, but a month later, my phone blew up with 25 missed calls from her. Sup Reddit. This is a throwaway account because I'm not looking to start drama. I've been lurking for years, but this situation is so absurd that I had to share it with you all. I was engaged to this woman, and we'd been together for 6 years until she completely nuked everything because of a damn palm reading. Yeah, you read that right. But let me back up and give you the full story. I'm 33 male and was engaged to my fiancée, 30 female. Let's call her Olivia. We met during grad school while working on a group project in a digital media program. Those late nights studying together gradually turned into coffee dates, then dinner dates, and eventually blossomed into what I thought was a rock-solid relationship spanning 6 years. We had our wedding planned for next month, with all deposits already paid, $30,000 down the drain. My parents were covering half of the expenses, and we had already sent invitations to 190 people. We had even booked our honeymoon to Thailand and were living in an uptown apartment with a beautiful lakefront view. Our financial arrangement was typical for couples planning to get married. Shared finances with a joint account for bills, but separate accounts for personal expenses. We had been discussing starting a family next year, and everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place for our future together. My job as a graphic designer keeps me quite busy with tight deadlines and long editing sessions, but I've always made time for my relationship with Olivia. I work for a studio doing commercial projects, and I'm also developing my own comic series on the side. Olivia used to love seeing my character sketches and would always give thoughtful feedback on my storylines. My buddy Tom has been my best friend since high school. We played basketball together back then. I was decent, but Tom was the star player who could have gone somewhere with it if he hadn't blown out his knee during our senior year. We still hit the courts twice a week, talking trash and acting like we're still 17. Those basketball games are sacred to us. Work deadlines or relationship drama doesn't matter. Monday nights and Friday mornings are reserved for court time. Your jump shot is as weak as your character designs, he'd say, after blocking my shot. I'd come back with, at least I can draw things that look realistic, unlike your free throw form. It's just constant ball busting that's kept us sane for 16 years. When I started dating Olivia, Tom was supportive but always maintained that healthy skepticism good friends should have. He got married young, divorced at 29, and had seen enough relationship disasters to develop a sixth sense about them. One of the things I loved about Olivia was her cooking. She made these amazing curry dishes from scratch, her grandmother's recipes from southern India that she'd perfected over the years. She'd spend Sunday's meal prepping for the week while I handled cleanup duty. Our finances were solid too. I was making good money at the studio with benefits, and she was pulling in a similar amount as a UX designer at a financial tech company. We had been saving aggressively for a house down payment, planning to move out of our rented apartment after the wedding. By our calculations, we'd have enough for a 20% down payment on a decent place in the suburbs within a year after getting married. My parents had already generously given us $15,000 for the wedding. Her parents had contributed about $6,000, mostly for her dress and the rehearsal dinner. We'd put in another $9,000 of our own money. Everything was set and ready to go for what should have been the happiest day of our lives. About 7 months ago, Olivia started hanging out with this new friend group led by a woman named Diana. These weren't just regular friends. This was more like a women's empowerment circle that charged membership fees of $250 a month and sold overpriced essential oils on the side. Diana called herself a spiritual guide, but she was essentially just a palm reader who'd occasionally throw in tarot cards and astrology charts for variety. Diana was quite a piece of work. She was 40, permanently single, and lived in a renovated loft downtown that she claimed was energetically optimal, because it supposedly sat on some kind of ley line intersection. In reality, it was just an overpriced apartment above a vegan coffee shop that charged $8 for regular coffee with a pretentious name. Despite claiming to be a spiritual guide to the stars, her client list mysteriously never included anyone verifiable. I didn't think much of it at first. Everyone's entitled to their hobbies, even if they're paying $250 a month to have someone tell them that Mercury being in retrograde is why they got a parking ticket. But then, Olivia started bringing home crystals for the apartment, talking about aligning her chakras, and spending more time discussing her divine feminine energy than actually having conversations with me. She'd leave these chunks of quartz and amethyst all over our apartment. I once nearly broke my toe stepping on a grounding stone she'd placed on the floor next to our bed. When I asked her to at least keep them contained to her home office space, she accused me of blocking her spiritual flow. The physical changes started subtly. First, she dyed her hair blue, not a normal shade, but some pastel aquamarine color that Diana said would amplify her throat chakra. Then came the wardrobe overhaul. Flowy boho dresses, beaded necklaces, and oversized sweaters replaced her usual well-fitted clothes. She started wearing these loose harem pants around the apartment that caught on everything. When I pointed out that they were impractical, she said I was too focused on the material plane. She started burning incense constantly, which aggravated my mild asthma. When I asked her to at least open a window, she claimed I was resistant to cleansing energies. The apartment constantly smelled like a head shop, and my sinuses were never clear. The red flag I ignored. She started sorting our friends into categories based on their energetic impact. My buddy Tom was labeled an energy depleter because he made a joke about her new crystal collection looking like an overpriced rock display at the Natural History Museum. He wasn't wrong. Our Sunday cooking tradition together disappeared. Cooking meat disrupts my spiritual frequency, she announced one day. She stopped making those curry dishes I loved and instead ordered expensive takeout from clean eating restaurants. Our fridge, once full of home-cooked meals, was now stocked with $17 cold-pressed juices and pre-packaged quinoa bowls. My monthly credit card statement started showing charges from places like Crystal Harmony Emporium and Divine Path Wellness. When I pointed this out, she said I was too attached to money and that investment in spiritual growth has infinite returns. Funny how those infinite returns always seem to flow toward Diana and her various business ventures. I later found out that Diana's little operation was basically a cult-like MLM scheme targeting professional women in their early 30s. Classic playbook? Make them feel special, isolate them from their partners, then sell them products and exclusive spiritual retreats at $1,700 a weekend. They'd have these women-only sessions that seemed designed to drive wedges between the attendees and their partners. Diana had a whole routine. She'd start with basic palm readings at $60, then upsell to a comprehensive soul map at $400. Once she had them hooked, she'd introduce her empowerment circle that met weekly at $250 per month. The final boss level was her weekend retreats at a rented lake house where they do energy alignment ceremonies that were basically just guided meditation sessions while burning overpriced sage bundles. About 2 months ago, Olivia started getting distant. All the classic signs were there. Always on her phone, password changes, late nights at wellness events, and a sudden gym obsession at odd hours. My gut told me something was off, but I kept telling myself it was just wedding stress or work pressure. Olivia's texting habits changed drastically during this period. She used to put her phone down during dinner or when we watched movies together, fully present in the moment. Now she was constantly checking it, smiling at messages and turning the screen away when I'd walk by. Something was clearly happening behind the scenes that I wasn't meant to see. The intimacy between us vanished almost overnight. If I tried to hug her from behind while she was making her morning tea, she'd stiffen and step away. We went from regular physical affection to barely touching in the span of a few weeks. Sex became non-existent, always with a new excuse. I'm too tired, or my personal favorite. Physical pleasure ties the soul to the material plane. Funny how she never mentioned that particular spiritual principle when we first started dating. I mentioned my concerns to Tom during one of our basketball games. "She's been acting weird," I said, dribbling past him for a layup. Tom just looked at me with that knowing expression and said, "You know what's happening, right?" He stole the ball and sank a three-pointer before I could respond. Deep down, I did know what was happening, but I wasn't ready to admit it to myself. Instead, I rationalized her behavior. She's just stressed about the wedding. Her mom's been a nightmare about the seating arrangements. You don't change passwords because your mom wants Cousin Becky at table 3 instead of table 8, Tom said, wiping sweat from his face. Trust your gut, man. I wasn't completely oblivious to what was happening. I'd noticed that all her new empowerment friends were going through major life transitions, divorces, career changes, or relationship drama. It was like Diana was specifically targeting women in vulnerable states, women looking for answers or direction in their lives. It was predatory when you really thought about it. Even during all this turmoil, I was trying to focus on my work. I had a big commercial project due, a design campaign for a tech company's new AI assistant that would play at their keynote presentation. I was staying late at the studio editing graphics and refining layouts. Olivia used to at least ask about my day, but now she barely acknowledged when I came home exhausted at 10 p.m., often not even looking up from her phone. The gym thing was probably the most obvious red flag. Olivia had always hated morning workouts. She'd literally said, "Only psychopaths exercise before coffee" when we first met. But suddenly, she was up at 5 a.m. for sunrise yoga and then again at night for specialized training. On weekends, she'd disappear for entire days for retreats at Diana's lake house, coming home with vague stories and new spiritual merchandise, but few actual details about her activities. Tom noticed before I did that Olivia's Instagram was filling up with gym selfies featuring the same male trainer in the background. "Who's the guy with the tribal tattoo who keeps showing up in her photos?" he asked me once while scrolling through her page. I brushed it off as her trainer, not wanting to see what was becoming increasingly obvious. The tribal tattoo should have been warning enough. I mean, what year was it? 2003. I finally decided to check out this guy's Instagram profile myself. His name was Vincent, a 28-year-old spiritual fitness coach who specialized in holistic body transformation for women. His profile was full of shirtless workout videos where he'd drop pseudo-spiritual wisdom between sets. "Your body is the temple where your soul creates its reality," he'd say while doing unnecessary slow-motion pull-ups. His bio claimed he was a former corporate drone who discovered his true calling through movement. Everything about him screamed inauthentic, but apparently that didn't matter to Olivia. The financial warning signs were there too. Our joint account kept getting hit with unexplained withdrawals. $100 here, $250 there, all supposedly for spiritual development courses and alignment sessions. When I suggested maybe cutting back since we were paying for a wedding, she acted like I was attacking her personal growth rather than trying to manage our shared finances responsibly. One charge particularly stood out: $950 for a twin flame activation retreat at some hot springs resort 3 hours away. This wasn't just a spiritual scam, it was an expensive spiritual scam at a place that conveniently had luxury spa facilities. We'd set up that joint account specifically for wedding expenses and household bills. We'd each contribute a set amount monthly with the understanding that this was for our shared future, not for funding weekend getaways with strangers at a hot springs. One night, I decided to confront Olivia about everything that had been happening. She walked in around 10 p.m., her hair slightly damp like she'd recently showered at the gym after yoga. I was sitting on the couch where I'd been waiting for 2 hours, a half-rendered design still open on my laptop. "We need to talk about what's been going on," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anxiety churning in my stomach. She immediately got defensive, claiming nothing was going on and refusing to make eye contact, a telltale sign that she was hiding something. When I listed the evidence, late nights, password changes, money disappearing from our account, constant texting, she snapped back that my negative energy was suffocating her. I tried to stay calm, pointing out that we were getting married in a month with 190 invitations sent out and non-refundable deposits paid, while she was spending more time with her spiritual sisters and at the gym than planning our wedding. She actually had the audacity to tell me I was being materialistic about the wedding. The wedding that my parents had sacrificed to help pay for was suddenly just a symbol of my attachment to societal constructs. How convenient that her spiritual awakening aligned perfectly with avoiding responsibility. The conversation escalated quickly into her claiming I was trapped in a three-dimensional perspective while she was ascending to fifth-dimensional consciousness. Whatever that means. "Did Diana tell you that?" I asked. "The same Diana who tells you spending more money on her retreats will improve your spiritual health?" That set her off like a firework. "Diana is helping me see things clearly for the first time. She's helping me become who I'm meant to be. All you've ever wanted is for me to stay small in this pathetic little existence, making dinner and watching your little designs." "She's helping you become a copy of her, Olivia," I replied, feeling my patience wearing thin. "You're so blind to what's happening. You're so limited," she spat back with contempt in her voice. "You're too afraid to expand beyond what you can see." Then she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "I can't talk to you when you're putting out this kind of negative energy. I'm going to Jade's." Then she just glared at me and walked out, leaving me alone in our apartment, an apartment that suddenly felt like it belonged to strangers. I texted Tom immediately. "You were right, it's happening." He replied within seconds. "Coming over, bringing pizza." 3 days later, Olivia returned to the apartment. She had her engagement ring off, sitting on the coffee table between us like a small, glittering monument to what we once had. "I need to tell you something important," she started, her voice oddly formal. "Diana did an advanced palm reading for me last week, and she discovered something concerning about my life path." I just sat there, already knowing where this was heading. The ring on the table made it pretty clear, but I let her continue with her script. "She says your energy signature doesn't align with my cosmic destiny. You're not my soulmate." I almost laughed. 6 years together, 1 month before our wedding, and suddenly my energy signature was the problem? It would be comical if it weren't so painfully absurd. Then came the kicker. I've been doing a lot of self-discovery work, and I've met someone at my new gym who really understands my spiritual journey. We have this connection that transcends the physical realm. Translation: she'd been sleeping with some wannabe fitness influencer who was feeding her the same spiritual BS as Diana, just with added protein shakes. The absolute audacity came when she actually said, "This isn't cheating. The universe brought us together. It's destiny." I raised an eyebrow, unable to contain my sarcasm. So if I'd been sleeping with someone else while we were engaged, that would be fine as long as I called it destiny? She looked offended. "That's different. You're operating from a place of ego attachment. What Vincent and I have is soul recognition." She explained how she'd been seeing this guy for about 2 months. 2 months of me planning our wedding while she was planning her exit, and apparently spending our wedding fund to finance these spiritual connections with Vincent. "Honestly," she said with a condescending smile that made my blood boil, "I think this is for the best. You can go back to your little design projects without my growth threatening your comfort zone. Your energy has always been so stagnant, so unwilling to evolve." I hadn't told her about the promotion I was in line for at the studio, or the industry award my side project had been nominated for. But sure, I was the stagnant one because I didn't believe rocks had magic powers, or that spending thousands of dollars on retreats constituted personal growth. Then came the real insult. She suggested we could still be spiritual companions, while she explored her true cosmic connection with Vincent. She actually thought I might agree to some kind of open relationship arrangement 1 month before what was supposed to be our wedding. The delusion was staggering. "Think about it," she said, as if offering me some kind of amazing compromise. "We've invested 6 years together. We don't have to throw that away completely. We could maintain our connection while pursuing our individual destinies." It turns out Vincent had convinced her that traditional marriage was an energy prison that would prevent her soul star from ascending. How convenient for him that his spiritual philosophy aligned perfectly with avoiding commitment while still having access to multiple women. I didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't try to reason with her. What was the point? You can't logic someone out of a position they didn't logic themselves into. I just nodded, got up and said, "It's your choice. I hope it works out for you." Her face showed confusion. She had expected tears, anger, pleading, something to validate her narrative of breaking free from a controlling relationship. Instead, she got calm acceptance, which wasn't part of her script. "That's it?" she asked, looking almost disappointed. "You're not going to fight for us?" "There's no US to fight for if you've been sleeping with another guy for 2 months, I said. "You've already made your choice." After she left with some of her things, I called Tom. "She's gone. Said a palm reader told her I'm not her soulmate. Been sleeping with her trainer for 2 months. "Jesus Christ," Tom said. "You okay?" "No, come over. Bring food." Tom and his wife Leah showed up 30 minutes later with pizza. We sat on my balcony and I told them everything. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, staring out at the city lights. I actually considered for a second if she might be right. Tom snorted, "Yeah, and maybe my hemorrhoids are just my body's way of telling me I should quit my job and become a trapeze artist." That broke the tension. We ended up laughing about the absurdity of it all, which was exactly what I needed in that moment. The next day, Olivia came to pick up the rest of her stuff while I was at work. When I got home, all her things were gone. She'd left her key on the kitchen counter along with a note. "I hope someday you understand this was the universe guiding me toward my true path." I crumpled it up and threw it away. I notified our families that the wedding was off. I didn't throw her under the bus with my family, just said we'd grown apart and realized it before making a bigger mistake. My dad, practical as always, just asked if the deposits were refundable. When I said mostly no, he nodded and said, "Still cheaper than a divorce." He wasn't wrong. My mom was more emotional, of course. She'd really liked Olivia and had been excited about the wedding. When I finally told her the full story, her first reaction was, You're coming over for dinner twice a week until further notice. Mothers never stop mothering, even when you're in your 30s. The wedding logistics were a nightmare. I spent 3 days calling vendors, explaining the situation over and over. Most deposits were non-refundable, but a few places gave partial refunds out of pity. The venue kept the entire $8,500. The photographer was more understanding and only charged us the $600 deposit instead of the full $3,000. Breaking the lease was its own headache. We had 8 months left on a joint lease with a penalty of 2 months' rent to terminate early. Worth it to be done with the place and all its memories. $3,800 down the drain, but freedom has its price. I hired a financial advisor to help navigate the money mess. Got my name off the lease as soon as possible, even though it meant paying a penalty. Removed Olivia from all my accounts. Changed passwords. Updated billing information on everything. Closed the joint account after transferring what money remained to my personal account. It was like erasing our financial entanglement one painful step at a time. I started hitting the gym 5 days a week because it helped clear my head and give me something concrete to focus on. Tom started coming with me, claiming his dad bod was entering grandfather territory. We set up a consistent routine that gave structure to my newly single life. Legs Monday, chest Tuesday, back and shoulders Thursday, arms Friday, and full body Saturday. No magical spiritual awakenings, just consistent progress tracked in a simple app. I started seeing real improvements too, both physically and mentally. The basketball games with Tom became even more important than before. We'd play until we could barely stand, trash talking the whole time to blow off steam. Your defense is as weak as your color palette in that last design, he'd say, after driving past me for an easy layup. At least my characters display more emotion than you do on that knee, I'd fire back, referring to his old injury. These moments of normalcy were anchors that kept me grounded during the chaos. I found a new apartment closer to work. Better commute, better area, and most importantly, no memories of Olivia. Tom came with me to viewings, turning it into a project to help keep my mind occupied. I settled on a 1-bedroom with concrete walls, no hearing neighbors' arguments, and a balcony big enough for a grill. The day I moved in, Tom and 3 other friends showed up with a housewarming gift, a high-end coffee machine. No more $6 Starbucks runs, Tom said. This thing will pay for itself in 3 months. He was right. It was these practical gestures of friendship that helped me start rebuilding my life one small piece at a time. I reconnected with college friends I'd lost touch with when Olivia had labeled them energy vampires. Turns out they weren't soul-sucking monsters, just normal guys with jobs and relationships who wanted to grab wings and watch the game occasionally. We set up a monthly poker night that became a regular thing. Low stakes, high trash talk. Exactly what I needed to feel like myself again. I started taking those certification courses I'd been putting off, the kind that actually lead to tangible career advancement, not certificates of spiritual alignment. I applied for a position at a competitor design studio that offered better benefits and a 17% salary bump. I got it. The professional progress felt good, like I was moving forward instead of staying stuck in my shock and disappointment. My side project, the comic series, took on new meaning after everything that happened. I changed some character designs and incorporated some subtle references to the experience. The main antagonist became a charismatic fraud who convinced people they had special powers while slowly draining their bank accounts. It was therapeutic, to say the least, channeling my frustration into something creative and productive. I started cooking again, too. Simple meals that didn't require a spiritual advisor to prepare. I found out I actually enjoy cooking when it doesn't involve arguments about whether cutting carrots disrupts their energy field. There's something deeply satisfying about creating a meal from scratch, a tangible result you can see and taste at the end of your efforts. Meanwhile, Olivia's life was unraveling on social media, which Leah monitored and reported on during our Sunday group dinners. These dinners became a regular thing. Tom and Leah would come over, and occasionally they'd bring Leah's friend Abby, who was smart, funny, and refreshingly normal compared to what I'd been dealing with. The first time Abby came to dinner, she brought a homemade dish that was legitimately amazing. I stress cook, she explained with a shrug. Financial reporting all day makes me want to create something tangible by evening. We bonded over trading process stories, her precise measurements and timing for perfect roasts compared to my design workflow and color palettes. We both appreciated the discipline required to create something from scratch, whether it was a meal or a design. Abby was 31, worked as a business analyst for a tech company, owned her own condo downtown with no roommates, had zero interest in crystal healing or any of that spiritual nonsense, and most importantly, there were no spiritual guides living on her couch telling her how to live her life. She was grounded in reality in a way that felt like a breath of fresh air. While I was rebuilding my life, Olivia's social media told its own story. First came the vague inspirational quotes about following your heart and embracing destiny. Standard social media breakup theater that everyone seems to go through. Then pictures with gym guys started appearing, featuring excessive hashtags about twin flames and spiritual connections. The captions were physically painful to read. When the universe delivers your soulmate, you don't ask questions, you just follow the path. Hash blessed hash water, twin hash flames, hash what divine coupling. You dodged a bullet, Leah said one evening, showing me a particularly nauseating post where Olivia and Vincent were doing partner yoga on a beach. Anyone who uses the hashtag divine coupling deserves whatever's coming to them. I couldn't help but agree with her assessment. About a month in, the tone of Olivia's posts changed noticeably. Leah reported fewer couple photos and more cryptic statements about lessons from the universe and growth through pain. Apparently, her soulmate was swiping right on multiple spiritual journeys simultaneously. Vincent was spotted at a bar with another client, and someone tagged him in a photo with a different woman at a concert, on a night when Olivia had posted about connecting with my twin flames energy under the full moon. The twin flames flame is apparently burning for multiple twins, Tom commented dryly when Leah showed us the evidence. It was hard not to feel a certain vindication, though I took no joy in seeing someone I once loved being hurt, even after what she did. The unraveling continued when Olivia started posting about financial hardship as spiritual testing. Turned out Vincent had convinced her to invest in his new mindful movement studio to the tune of her entire savings. The studio never materialized, but Vincent somehow had a new motorcycle. Cosmic alignment works in mysterious ways, it seems. Diana's empowerment circle imploded spectacularly, too. Tom's cousin had a friend who was a peripheral member, and she shared the whole sordid story with us. Someone discovered Diana had been sleeping with several of the husbands whose marriages she'd been spiritually counseling into dissolution, including Vincent, who apparently had been getting free advanced spiritual guidance in exchange for serving as Diana's soulmate bait for new recruits. When the husband of one of the group members found explicit texts between his wife and Vincent, he went nuclear. He created a Facebook group exposing the whole operation, complete with screenshots of payment records and text messages. It turned out Vincent had been working on commission, 15% of whatever his soulmate matches spent on Diana's services. The whole thing was even more calculated and predatory than I'd imagined. The mechanics of the scam were painfully simple. Diana would identify unhappy professional women through social media and networking events. She'd offer them a free palm reading, then identify blockages in their life path, usually related to their relationship. It was classic cold reading combined with targeted manipulation. The whole thing collapsed like a house of cards. Diana's spiritual center, a rented office space above a vape shop, closed overnight. The Facebook group grew to include dozens of women who'd been scammed, with damages totaling over $220,000 in membership fees, specialty products, and alignment retreats. It was staggering to see how many people had been caught in this web of deception. Some of the women were talking about legal action, but most were too embarrassed to come forward publicly. The ones who did file police reports were told it was a civil matter, since they'd technically agreed to pay for these services. Diana apparently skipped town, leaving Vincent to deal with the fallout. And deal he did. By immediately finding a new gig at a different gym across town and starting the same scam with a new group of women. Apparently, the spiritual enlightenment business was too lucrative to abandon, even after being exposed. I didn't get any satisfaction from seeing Olivia's life implode. It was just sad all around. She'd thrown away a solid relationship, burned through her savings, and humiliated herself publicly. All because she bought into some new age nonsense peddled by con artists. She had destroyed her life with her own hands, and despite everything, a part of me still felt sorry for her. The final blow came when Vincent's actual girlfriend, yes, he had one the whole time, found out about his side hustles and went public. She'd been with him for 3 years while he was playing soulmate to at least 6 different women from Diana's group. She created her own Instagram account dedicated to exposing him, posting screenshots of his spiritual seduction techniques that were literally copied and pasted to multiple women. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. During all this drama, Abby and I had been getting closer. What started as group dinners turned into occasional coffee meetups, then actual dates. She was smart, grounded, owned her own condo downtown, and had her life together in a way that was both impressive and refreshing. Our first real conversation was about mortgage rates and whether the housing market was due for a correction, not spiritual alignments or cosmic destinies. No discussion of Mercury being in retrograde or how my aura looked, just practical real-world topics between two adults. We started dating casually, no pressure, just enjoying normal conversations that didn't involve cosmic destiny or chakra blockages. She'd come over and cook these amazing dishes while I worked on designs, occasionally looking over my shoulder and asking thoughtful questions about the process. She was genuinely interested in my work, not just tolerating it as Olivia had done toward the end. The relationship developed naturally. We saw each other once or twice a week, gradually increasing the time we spent together. No rushing, just two people genuinely enjoying each other's company and building something real. She wasn't looking to mold herself to someone else's vision or to find herself through a relationship. She already knew who she was, and that confidence was incredibly attractive. 2 months after Olivia walked out of my life, I was finally in a good place. New job, new apartment, new relationship. My design career was taking off too. That side project had gotten attention from a few industry blogs, and I was fielding calls from studios interested in developing it further. The new job came with better pay, more creative control, and colleagues who actually understood the technical aspects of what I was doing. Then, one evening, there was a knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I checked the peephole. Olivia was standing there, looking nothing like the spiritual guru she'd become. Her hair was back to its natural color. No more bohemian clothes, no crystals around her neck. She looked like the woman I'd fallen for years ago, and for a brief moment my heart did a confusing little flip before reality set back in. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "Hey," she said, looking nervous. "Can we talk?" "We're talking now," I replied, leaning against the doorframe. "I was hoping we could talk privately," she said, glancing down the hallway. "This is as private as it gets," I said firmly. "What do you want, Olivia?" She took a deep breath, then launched into an apology, claiming she'd been manipulated and that Diana's group was a scam. I was in a vulnerable place and they took advantage of that. Diana targeted me specifically because she knew I had money and was planning a wedding. "No," I said, cutting her off. "You weren't targeted, you knew. Everyone knew except the people being scammed. That's how scams work." She swallowed hard, clearly not expecting this response. "What I did to you was unforgivable. I threw away everything we had for a lie." "Apology accepted," I said flatly. "Is that it?" "I also wanted to... I was hoping maybe," she stammered. "Look, I still have feelings for you. I think I always will. I know I hurt you, but I'm hoping there's still a chance for us." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. "You're kidding, right? I know it's a lot to ask." "It's not a lot to ask. It's a delusional ask," I said, feeling my patience wearing thin. "You cheated on me, blamed it on a palm reading, stole money from our joint account, and humiliated me by canceling our wedding. And now you want to try again?" "I was brainwashed," she pleaded. "They targeted my insecurities. Diana convinced me that my hesitation about centerpiece colors meant I was spiritually misaligned with you. And yet somehow being spiritually aligned with Vincent meant sleeping with him while I was finalizing our wedding plans," I countered, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. She had the audacity to tear up at this point, as if she were the victim in this situation. I know it sounds crazy, but I really believed we had this cosmic connection. Vincent knew exactly what to say to make me feel special, like I was chosen for something greater. "So did every cult leader in history," I replied dryly. "I've changed," she insisted, wiping away a tear. "I'm back to who I was." "Good for you," I said, genuinely meaning it. "I've changed too. I'm with someone who doesn't need a palm reader to tell her who to sleep with." Her eyes widened in surprise. "You're seeing someone? Did you think I'd just be sitting here waiting for you to come to your senses?" "The universe moves in mysterious ways," I said, throwing her words back at her with a touch of irony. "It's only been 2 months," she said, sounding genuinely shocked that I hadn't spent that time pining for her return. The entitlement was staggering. "And you already moved on? How could you?" 2 months is plenty of time to realize what I don't want in my life," I replied, standing my ground. She started crying then, genuine ugly crying that might have moved me once upon a time. I've lost everything. My friends, my job, my savings, and now you. You didn't lose me. You threw me away. There's a difference, I told her, feeling a strange sense of clarity wash over me. For the first time since the breakup, I felt completely free of any lingering attachment to what we had been. She begged for another chance, saying we could start slow with just dinner or coffee. I refused. There was no going back, not after everything that had happened. I'll do anything, she said desperately. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. You should definitely get therapy, but not for me. For yourself. It was probably the most honest advice I could give her. So that's it? 6 years together means nothing? Her voice cracked with emotion. It meant everything to me. But now it's just a lesson learned. And it was true. Those 6 years had taught me more about myself, about relationships, and about human nature than I ever could have imagined. As I started to close the door, she asked if she could at least give back the engagement ring. Keep it, I said. Sell it. Consider it your parting gift from the universe. I already tried, she admitted with a defeated look. It's only worth about half what you paid for it. Another valuable lesson from the universe, I said, unable to resist one final jab. I closed the door before she could respond. Through the peephole, I watched her stand there for a few moments, then walk away. The weight that had been sitting in my chest for months finally lifted. It was over, truly over, and I could move forward without any lingering doubts or what-ifs. 10 minutes later, Abby texted, "Still on for dinner? I'm thinking that new Thai place." I smiled and texted back, "Absolutely. See you at 7. That weekend, the four of us, Tom, Leah, Abby, and I, grilled on my new balcony. Just good food, actual conversations, and plans for a hiking trip next month. No discussion of energetic alignments or spiritual frequencies or cosmic destinies. Just 4 adults enjoying each other's company without needing it to be part of some greater universal plan." At one point, Leah pulled me aside. "Just so you know, Olivia's been asking mutual friends about you, saying she's worried about your well-being since the breakup." I just laughed. "Tell them I've never been better." And I meant it. I was building something real, something that existed in the actual world rather than some fantasy realm where destiny and palm readings determine your life path. A relationship based on mutual respect and genuine connection, not cosmic alignment or spiritual frequencies. A career that was advancing because of actual skill and hard work, not because some self-proclaimed guru approved of my energy. I sat down at my desk later that night, opened my design project, and for the first time in months, the elements flowed exactly how I wanted them to. No more stiffness, no more unnatural transitions. Just smooth composition guided by skill and practice. It was like my creativity had finally been unchained from the weight of that toxic relationship. Sometimes the universe does deliver exactly what you need, but usually it's because you put in the work to create it. Not because you paid someone $950 for a twin flame activation retreat or bought into some scam about energy signatures and spiritual alignments. Life doesn't work that way. Relationships don't work that way. Looking back, I can see all the red flags I missed or chose to ignore. The gradual isolation from friends, the increasing financial demands, the way she changed her entire personality to match Diana's expectations, the sudden obsession with a lifestyle that conveniently benefited the people scamming her. It's easy to see these things in hindsight, but when you're in the middle of it, watching someone you love slowly transform into someone you don't recognize, it's harder to draw the line. If there's anything positive I can take away from this whole experience, it's a newfound appreciation for authenticity, for relationships built on honesty rather than fantasy, for friendships that weather the storm rather than disappearing at the first sign of trouble, for the value of having people in your life who call you on your BS rather than encouraging your delusions. Tom and Leah stuck with me through the whole mess. Abby came into my life when I least expected it and showed me what a healthy connection actually looks like. My parents supported me without judgment. Even my career flourished once I was free from the constant drama and emotional drain of my relationship with Olivia. I don't know what Olivia will do now. Part of me hopes she finds her way back to reality and rebuilds her life. Not for me. That ship has sailed. But for herself. Nobody deserves to be scammed and manipulated, even if they made themselves vulnerable to it. But that's her journey now, not mine. As for me, I'm looking forward. To normal Sunday dinners without crystals on the table. To a relationship where disagreements don't mean our energies are misaligned. To basketball games with Tom where the trash talk is about my jump shot, not my chakras. to a life built on what's real rather than what someone else tells me I should believe. I still sometimes shake my head at how absurd it all was. How a palm reading could end a 6-year relationship just weeks before a wedding. How someone could throw away everything we built for a scam so transparent it collapsed within months. How close I came to losing myself trying to understand what was happening. But the past is the past. I'm focused on the future now, and it looks brighter than I could have imagined when Olivia first walked out. Sometimes, you have to lose what you thought you wanted to find what you actually need. Sometimes the universe does work in mysterious ways, just not the way the fortune tellers tell you. Has anyone else been through something similarly bizarre with an ex? I'd love to hear I'm not the only one who's had their relationship destroyed by something this ridiculous.